but a state could come up with a solution that would work for that state.
Giving the power back to the states, that's Bill Cassidy's solution for America's healthcare system. He says it helps people and states' bottom lines.
Both that family who can't afford their premium, but also the way that Medicaid is eating up both state budgets and the federal budget.
Political experts say that's not necessarily a bad idea, in our Dr. Joshua Stockley.
Give the state an incentive to tailor the program as efficiently as they can, within parameters.
As he sees it, though, this is one part of a solution to a multifaceted problem.
I don't think we can conclusively say the Affordable Care Act is broken for rural America. In fact, the evidence points to the opposite.
And he's right, rural hospitals have grown under Obamacare, in part thanks to more people getting health coverage. In fact, data from the U.S. Census shows Louisiana's uninsured rate is the lowest it's ever been.
And the Affordable Care Act has done a huge service to a lot of rural Americans.
But what does this new bill mean for you? Well, it would end the mandate that you have to buy insurance, and along with that, the subsidies that helped people buy it.
I regularly get emails from people who say that if they're in the exchanges and they're not getting a subsidy, they cannot afford their premiums. So one guy was telling me...
Sure, right, but doesn't your plan end the subsidies?
So what we do is we take the money that would come from Medicaid expansion, from the tax credits, and from the cost sharing reduction, and that's the whole pool of money that we would then give to the state.
Medicaid expansion would cease to exist, which, by the way, insures more than 400,000 people in Louisiana. Obamacare's taxes would stay in place, though, and all of that money would go directly to the states, and they would have the final say in how it was spent. The problem is states could charge more for people with pre-existing conditions, or for older people if they wanted to. And not only that, but states would only get a fixed amount of cash, so once the money is gone, it's gone. And Cassidy says that spurs innovation.
By giving a capped amount, we're saying, states, if you save money with an innovative program, you can use those dollars you save over here.
Stockley says fundamentally this does not solve the problem, which is encouraging insurance companies to do their part and working together to find a solution.
That's the part that needs to be fixed. I think Republicans and Democrats should be able to easily come together and create a solution for that. It would be a win-win for both parties.
But right now, Republicans are going it alone on health care.
Every solution that we have proposed has been the conservative solution.
The Republicans are doing what Republicans are supposed to do. They are opposing Obamacare. Now they're realizing that campaigning is inherently different from governing.
And Stockley says what we have to do is reach across the aisle. What does a bipartisan health care bill look like that actually works for Americans? Is that even possible?
I don't think it's impossible. And there's a long-standing, proud history of significant policies being made in the United States with the support of both parties.
They're popular.
No complaints.
Opinionated.
The middle class in America is getting screwed.
And hard at work in Washington, D.C.
We have got things ready. We know he's going to redline a lot of executive orders that President Obama has done, get them out of the way.
Both Ralph Abraham and John Kennedy have a lot on their agenda for this year, and they say it starts with cutting government regulation.
I want to get government off people's backs.
A lot of businesses are going to be able to thrive now. A lot of regulatory burden that are hurting my farmers and my businesses will be gone.
Abraham says he wants to look at environmental regulations he says are hurting farmers, like the Clean Water Act. Kennedy says his focus is on the middle class.
We got too many undeserving people at the top getting bailouts and special treatment. We've got too many undeserving people at the bottom getting handouts.
The one place they differ, though, is Cuba. Abraham has been a staunch supporter of increasing trade relations with Cuba, saying it helps the Bayou States' bottom line.
The quality of the food they're getting is not as good as we can supply from Louisiana, and certainly not as economical because we're only 36 hours away.
Kennedy says this is about more than just a boost to Louisiana's economy.
I know that Fidel Castro has died, but his brother is running things. There are no human rights in Cuba.
And President Trump has promised to roll back progress made with Cuba under the Obama administration.
Hopefully that change and that attitude will morph as we move on. But again, I will continue to champion that cause for Louisiana.
They need to change too. Before, I want to be their best friends.
Both say to them, Washington is about Louisiana.
When I go back home and I can look a veteran or one of my farmers or one of my businessmen in the face and they say thank you, That's what it's about.
My job is to represent the taxpayers and the people of Louisiana. And by God, that's what I'm going to do.
While doing the people's work in the nation's capital. President Obama.
Hello, Baton Rouge!
Talking to a crowd of a few hundred people at a predominantly African-American high school in Baton Rouge today. A crowd that was very pro the president.
Just want to tell you thank you.
Just days after the State of the Union, Obama appeared lighthearted today, especially when asked about whether First Lady Michelle Obama would also run.
Let me tell you, there are three things that are certain in life: death, taxes, and Michelle is not running for president.
He took a veiled swipe at Republican frontrunner Donald Trump, though not mentioning him by name.
Make sure that we keep America safe, not through trying to talk tough, but by being smart.
He echoed comments made during the State of the Union, saying he had regrets about the divisive state of American politics.
If you punish an elected official for even talking to the other side, then it's going to produce the kind of politics that we have seen in Washington too often.
Governor John Bel Edwards also in attendance at the rally. The president took time to acknowledge the governor's promise to expand Medicaid and fix our aging infrastructure.
I'm just so proud of him, and I'm confident that he's going to do great work.
Obama spent the majority of his time today talking to the crowd about issues close to his heart in this final year: criminal justice reform, education, and combating climate change.
What environmental issue do you think has impacted you the most?
Ultimately, we got to do something about making sure that ocean levels don't rise 4, 5, 6, 8 feet. Because if they do, this state's going to have some big problems.
And Obama ended his speech by doing his part to rally the troops.
Our system of government only works when you are involved not just by voting, but by being informed and staying involved throughout the process.
A process that, for him, has an end date inching closer. In Baton Rouge, Chris Brown.
Common sense can prevail.
KNOE 8 News. A lot of noise out there about what is happening on the U.S.-Mexico border. Children being separated from their families, the president blaming Democrats, Democrats blaming the president, the administration saying they have no other choice. And like so many of these things, the truth is stuck somewhere in the middle, which is where thousands of children find themselves tonight. The Trump administration's current zero-tolerance approach is modeled after Operation Streamline, a program started by the Bush administration in 2005. That program referred all people crossing the border illegally for prosecution, but made exceptions for adults traveling with children. The Obama administration used that model too, but detained families together in Immigration and Customs Enforcement custody.
I hate the children being taken away. The Democrats have to change their law. That's their law.
But the truth is, there is no specific law that mandates that. The Immigration and Nationality Act of 1952 makes illegal entry a crime, but doesn't require separating families. In fact, there are a series of policies and court rulings adopted and enforced under various presidential administrations that make up the patchwork immigration framework we have in the country today. But what we're seeing at the border today is a direct result of the Trump administration's newly adopted policy of zero tolerance on illegal border crossings, which the Attorney General rolled out in this document in April of this year.
Having children does not give you immunity from arrest and prosecution.
Before, families seeking asylum were released with their family to wait for immigration hearings. It was called catch and release, and the president campaigned against it. Now, parents are being arrested and kids are being sent to the shelters we've seen so many pictures of. This is the difference in the zero-tolerance policy. Now, the president could change this policy without Congress's help at all, but he said again he was waiting on Congress to come up with comprehensive immigration reform first. Now, Senator Ted Cruz introduced a bill that would reunite separated families, authorize new temporary shelters to house them, and double the number of federal immigration judges to work through a backlog of asylum requests. The president said this afternoon he wants border security and not more judges.